For more than a decade, Kim Soo Hyun was seen as one of the most untouchable figures in the Korean entertainment industry, a carefully built symbol of talent, discipline, and a flawless public image that extended far beyond South Korea and into global markets like the United States, Canada, and Australia. But in a matter of just a few weeks, his name suddenly became surrounded by controversy, allegations, and an online storm that spread across YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter X, forcing the public to question how someone once viewed as the definition of stability and prestige could quickly become one of the most debated celebrity names in his country. Even more importantly, people began to wonder whether this shift was truly about solid facts or a product of how modern media and internet culture amplify uncertainty, half-information, and emotional reactions. In today's world, a career built over 10 years can be shaken by a few viral headlines, and a carefully cultivated image can be rewritten overnight by algorithm-driven narratives. That leaves us with one unanswered question at the center of this entire story. Was this the real fall of an untouchable star, or simply the moment when public perception turned faster than the truth could keep up? Long before his name entered the current controversy, Kim Soo Hyun had already established himself as one of the highest-paid and most respected actors in South Korea, with breakthrough roles in globally popular dramas like My Love from the Star, It's Okay to Not Be Okay, and other major film projects that helped him become one of the central faces of the Hallyu wave. That wave introduced millions of viewers in the United States to Korean television and cinema through platforms like Netflix and Viki. Unlike many Hollywood celebrities who often build fame alongside tabloid chaos, his career was defined by an unusually clean and controlled public image, with almost no major scandals attached to his personal life. This made him extremely attractive to global brands and advertisers, earning him endorsement deals worth millions of dollars and positioning him as a safe face for fashion, beauty, and lifestyle companies across Asia and in international markets. To many American audiences just discovering Korean entertainment, he represented a version of stardom that felt disciplined, mysterious, and different from the more openly chaotic lifestyle often associated with Western celebrities. People even compared him to certain Hollywood figures known for maintaining long-standing, drama-free reputations. That carefully maintained image of professionalism, emotional control, and reliability is what made his sudden transition into a controversial figure not just surprising, but deeply fascinating to global viewers who had only ever seen Kim Soo Hyun presented as one of the rare, truly untouchable stars in modern Asian entertainment. The shift from admiration to controversy began when allegations and speculative discussions about Kim Soo Hyun started circulating through Korean online spaces and quickly crossed over into international fan communities, including large audiences in the United States. Instead of originating from formal legal processes or official investigations, much of this information spread through online commentary channels, social media threads, and independent creators on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter X, where the line between verified reporting and speculation can easily blur. What made the situation particularly volatile was not just the content of these discussions, but the speed at which they traveled, driven by algorithm systems designed to prioritize content that generates high emotional reactions and engagement. Each new post, reaction video, or translated clip introduced the story to people who had never followed his career before, transforming what was once a contained industry issue into a global online debate. As more videos and posts emerged, public perception slowly shifted from seeing Kim Soo Hyun as a distant, disciplined star to a figure wrapped in unanswered questions. Some audiences began calling for more transparency, while others urged caution against rushing to judgment. This reflected a now familiar pattern in modern celebrity culture, seen not only in Korea but also in Hollywood, where the absence of clear, centralized information creates a vacuum that gets filled by interpretation, speculation, and emotionally charged narratives rather than strictly verified facts. In that kind of environment, it is not always the most accurate version of events that spreads the furthest, but the most dramatic one. Over time, this wave of online content reshaped how people talked about him. Clips analyzing his past interviews, old promotional appearances, and even his body language began circulating with new captions and new meanings attached. For many viewers, especially those outside South Korea who only knew him from dramas on Netflix, this was the first time they had ever heard his name linked to anything controversial. And once a celebrity's name becomes attached to the word accusation, even in a purely speculative context, it can be extremely difficult to separate perception from reality again. That was the moment when the image of Kim Soo Hyun began to crack. Not necessarily because the truth had fully come out, but because the story had become too big, too viral, and too emotionally charged to ignore. As the online narrative around Kim Soo Hyun gained momentum, traditional media outlets and entertainment news platforms began adjusting their tone. Coverage that once focused on his achievements, awards, and record-breaking ratings slowly shifted toward more cautious, question-driven headlines. This pattern is very familiar to audiences in the United States who have seen Hollywood stars go through the same arc, where the media narrative moves from praise to curiosity and then to skepticism, not always because of new facts, but because public sentiment has changed. In Kim Soo Hyun's case, the conversation became filled with polarized fan communities. Supporters pointed to his long, previously clean record, his professionalism, and the lack of any definitive legal conclusion. Critics, on the other hand, argued that the very existence of serious allegations warranted deeper scrutiny, regardless of whether a court had ruled on anything yet. On social media, this clash played out in real time under posts, videos, and news articles, turning his name into a digital battleground where each side tried to frame the story in their own way. This shift showed how modern celebrity culture is no longer shaped only by talent or work. Instead, it's shaped by a complex intersection of public emotion, media framing, and the speed of online reaction. Once a narrative of suspicion takes hold, even neutral actions, such as staying silent, issuing a short statement, or continuing regular work, can be interpreted through a negative lens. For viewers in the United States who have watched similar arcs unfold around major Hollywood names, the way the media tone around Kim Soo Hyun changed felt less like an isolated Korean story and more like another example of how quickly public admiration can turn into public doubt in the age of global digital scrutiny. When a celebrity's image begins shifting from universally admired to widely debated, the impact reaches far beyond social media comments. In the case of Kim Soo Hyun, the constant association of his name with controversy and uncertainty naturally led brands and collaborators to reassess how they positioned him in their campaigns. In industries driven by public perception, even the hint of a serious dispute can make companies reconsider whether a figure once seen as a symbol of elegance and reliability can still represent their values, especially when those companies operate in sensitive global markets like the United States, where consumer trust and brand safety are heavily prioritized. For years, Kim Soo Hyun had been the ideal ambassador, a highly recognizable face from South Korea, beloved across Asia, with growing recognition among international audiences thanks to platforms like Netflix. That kind of cross-border appeal is rare, and it often leads to long-term, high-value endorsement deals. But once his name began appearing next to words like scandal, controversy, or allegations, the perception of stability surrounding him started to erode. Even without a court verdict, the mere possibility of ongoing dispute can be enough to trigger caution behind the scenes. This transition from a perfect image to a controversial name did not necessarily mean that his talent had changed or that his body of work meant any less. Instead, it highlighted how vulnerable a public persona can be once it becomes tied to unresolved questions. Fans in the United States and elsewhere noticed subtle but telling signs, like reduced visibility in certain campaigns or noticeably more neutral language in brand messaging. All of these shifts underscored a harsh reality of modern fame. In a world where image is everything, once that image is questioned at scale, it may never fully return to what it was before. One of the most powerful forces behind this transformation was not a single article, a lawsuit, or a press conference, but the invisible influence of digital algorithms on platforms such as YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter X. Content about Kim Soo Hyun, from serious breakdowns to speculative commentary, was continuously recommended to users based on their viewing history, engagement habits, and the overall popularity of related topics. This kind of recommendation system can turn a localized conversation into a global spectacle without any centralized control. For viewers in the United States, many of whom first encountered his name through drama clips, fan edits, or reaction videos, the sudden flood of suggested content about his controversy made the story feel unavoidable. Even people who had never watched a full Korean drama might have seen a 60-second TikTok discussing his situation or a 10-minute YouTube video with a title asking whether his career was over. The more people clicked, liked, commented, or shared, the stronger the algorithm's signal became, and the more frequently similar videos were pushed onto home feeds around the world. In this environment, repetition itself becomes a form of power. The more often viewers see a name linked to controversy, the more likely they are to associate that person with the idea of something must have happened, even if they never look into original sources or verified reports. Over time, the story about Kim Soo Hyun evolved beyond the specifics of any single claim or response. It became part of a broader pattern of algorithm-driven celebrity narratives, where visibility is determined less by accuracy and more by emotional impact. That is what made his case not only a Korean entertainment issue, but also a revealing example of how global attention can be shaped in the digital age. Despite the massive attention surrounding Kim Soo Hyun, there are still critical questions that remain unresolved. How much of the public narrative has been shaped by confirmed, verifiable information, and how much has been driven by speculation, translation gaps, and the natural tendency of online audiences to fill in the blanks? Why did certain details appear in scattered pieces across different platforms instead of through a single, transparent explanation from any side involved? And perhaps most importantly, are people reacting to what is proven or to what feels emotionally satisfying to believe in the moment? These unanswered questions are part of what keeps his story alive not only in Korean media, but across international spaces, where his name has become familiar. For many viewers in the United States who have watched similar dynamics unfold in high-profile Hollywood cases, the situation around Kim Soo Hyun raises deeper concerns about how easily public opinion can be formed before all facts are laid out. It also highlights the emotional cost for any individual, famous or not, who becomes the center of a controversy in an era where every screenshot, clip, and comment can be preserved and replayed indefinitely. The journey of Kim Soo Hyun from an almost untouchable star to one of the most discussed and debated names in Korean entertainment reveals a deeper truth about modern fame. Today, a celebrity's image is no longer built solely on talent, discipline, or years of hard work. It is also shaped by the speed of information, the design of algorithms, and the emotional waves of online audiences across South Korea, the United States, and beyond. A person can spend 10 or 15 years building trust and admiration, yet watch it all be questioned in a single news cycle or a single viral video. As viewers continue to follow stories like his, the most important question may not be whether one individual deserves absolute praise or absolute blame. Instead, it might be this: in a world where reputation can rise and fall with every trending post, are we truly watching the truth unfold, or are we just consuming the version of the story that the internet pushes in front of us first? For anyone watching from Los Angeles, New York, London, or Seoul, that question goes far beyond Kim Soo Hyun himself and asks us to think more carefully about how quickly we decide who is a hero, who is a villain, and whether we are willing to wait for real answers in a time that rewards instant judgment.